Hello everyone, this is Janet from Mixed Media Mama. Thank you so much for coming back. I am over the moon excited to show you this journal. Now, this journal is with the new release of David from Elizabeth Craft Designs. As many of you know, I am a design team member along with many fabulous artists are on his team. Now, the new release is coming and it's called Remember Moments. It is fabulous. It is a brand new paper pack. And it's coffee dyed paper that is over the moon, and I absolutely love everyone. You want to get more than just one pack when that comes out. And then there is a five dies and 6 sets of stamps. Oh my gosh. And 1 pack of stencils, journal stencils 4. Oh my gosh. It is over the moon. Cannot wait for you to see it all. But I wanted to show you, I stayed true to my nature and made a mixed media journal. Now, I absolutely love this collection because it fits in with everything about what I am, who I am, and allows me to do, well, let's just jump right on in, okay? Again, the collection of David's is called Remember Moments, and I just know you're going to love it. I just know it. So this is an extra large journal. It is of the Art Journal Specials. It is just a fabulous, of course, I gessoed it before I put all of my good goops, and I just cannot help but touch all of it because it just feels fabulous. And I know it is kind of hard to tell all of the insides, but let me see if I can bring you up. It is very textured. What I used is all of Tim Holtz, the Distress white paste, and then I really used a lot of the Tim Holtz embossing glazes. And there's many videos that are out there how to use his glazes with pastes. And of course I used one of the stencils, and that is very, very textured. And you can kind of see how textured it is, very textured. I put many layers of paints, sprays, stains, all of that, and glazes. That was my first ones. And then I came back, and you can kind of tell specifically right on the words. I use Finnebar waxes. It is just luscious, just luscious. And I just want to jump right in. See if I can get a little closer. There we go. This first one, I had a roll of, I got it at a, some type of a sale. It might have been an estate sale. I don't know how they acquired it, but it was a large roll of Curity. Back in the day, it's called, it is an adhesive bandage, and many years ago there was a company called Curity. It's kind of like, I think they had some Band-Aids and things like that, but this was a huge, large roll, and and you can see the texture on it. Basically, you would just separate all of this, but this roll is so old that it's really hard to separate. But it is so enduring, very, very much like an ace bandage. Really is nice. So what I did, I just used one of the dies made it into a beautiful, beautiful, actually it was supposed to be an envelope, and I just left and made it into a little, I don't know, like a little booklet, because you can kind of see this is supposed to flap over there, and here's the top of the lid of the little envelope, but I just left everything open and made it into a little booklet. As many of you can see is the stamps, the staining, I definitely use distress stains and oxides. Now I'm going to try to bring this up because I'm going to take this little card, of course, ATC, and I'll talk about that later. But using one of the big film strip dies, I used alcohol on a piece of acetate, and I put that behind there. As you can see, I sewed it on there, but it just really grunges it. I loved that effect, because then I just took a regular ATC, used his papers, stenciled and embossed glaze, a die cut, stamped in the background, used the negative, this underneath the ATC little die there. I used the negative but I loved it, of one of the dies, and it's very thin. It just fits right into almost kind of a gothic. I did not realize when I did that, but I really loved the whole effect of it. And here is one of the large, these are the large squares, and this is the base of the one of the die sets. And let me see if I can, it's for the journal sleeves, and this is the base that goes right into the journal sleeves, and then you can attach it. But I just made it into a card, and then I took another square underneath, and then one of many of the stamps, embossed and glazed, inked. I painted with some distress oxide ink, and then I embossed using one of the glazes. Love that. I just think that is so cool. And put a little, and you can always journal. That's one of the things that I really wanted to utilize with this journal this time, is that I wanted it to, so you could put it into your purse. This journal is small enough you can put it into your purse. You can later on add some tickets or some receipts or whatever, pictures, and then there's always journal space, like as you can see there. I always try to add things, places that you can put pictures. One of the dies right there, and a little tiny film strip, and I left the inside here in, and then I just inked it up, stamped it, embossed. I stamped before I embossed, and then I used a lot of, love using little snip of fabrics, especially coffee dyed or rust dyed. I absolutely love that thing. That is just a great little tuck spot added with David's coffee dyed paper. And how can you not? There is that alphabet and numbers, and I believe that is called wonky letters. And of course I stamped it and then embossed glaze, and then I stamped all of the other I believe that is the textures, or passport stamps. Oh, I just think that is, I love that color combination. I think it's just a really pretty color combination. And of course, in one of the, and believe this is from the romance set, and I used a stencil behind. I double stenciled it. You can see just a tad bit of blue there, broken china, and then I came back and I offset the stencil with vintage photo maybe. Now I'm going to try to get a little close on this, and it's a corner tuck. I just absolutely love the design. Just love so many different diversities that you can use this die with. But I'm going to get a little close because I want you to see all of the color of the embossing glazes that I used on it. I used some yellows, obviously the blues, but yellows, greens, two different styles or two different colors of blue. But I absolutely love that. I think that is that really turned out well. And then just added a holiday, of course, and an ATC card. All right, this is lovely. This is the journal sleeves fillers. When you have a picture and you really don't want to, you don't have any time or to mount it or anything, you just can put it right into the journal sleeve filler, and it has a backing. I just put a little strip there because I didn't really like the basic plastic up there. I just thought it would be a nice added thing, and that die is in the set of the journal sleeves fillers, but hopefully I'll try to keep it at an angle. This right here is these two shapes right here are I used the embossing glaze. The frame that the Good Life is on a vintage paper, vintage book paper. I tried to incorporate three things with this journal: fabric, maps, and book pages. And of course, when you flip this up, this happy moment, you can see that is part of the adhesive bandage. I just had a small strip, and then I just embossed the rest and used stencils and stamps. And here's a perfect example of using the negative of one of the dies. Don't throw anything away. Okay, here is a wonderful, this is just a small little flip, but it is packed full of things. So the first thing, I made a belly band right here. And I used the balloon, but two of the dies, and of course I stamped in the back a little paper, a little one of those little clips. And of course that comes, and I just tucked that right underneath there. So this is, as I flipped over to the next page, this shape right here is a tag or tag die, and I believe this is from the classic ATC, maybe. I'm not really sure, but one of the collections. And then I just put one of those beautiful, and I had to use this little boy. Isn't he just darling? Yes, he would see. I would love to have him as a happy camper on my vacation. So anyway, this tag right here became a tuck spot for another ATC. And of course, I use another frame. Backed it on one of the ATC cards in this in the paper collection. I just love that. That is an area for you to put a picture and then journal if you decide to. So this next page, and as you can see, it is just cascading from here onto here. It just has a nice flow. I like that. It's kind of my signature style too. So this next one is the back page of the center of the journal, of the signature. So I really packed it here. So this is an envelope, just like the very first page. This is in the envelope. I'm going to take these little things out. I took half of the medium film strip, cut that in half, added a piece of acetate that was stamped and colored with alcohol ink, and made that into a tuck spot. And of course, there you can see the little almost looks like a seed catalog envelope, but it's a tiny envelope. And then I made it into a tuck spot behind. So there's actually 1, 2, and 3 tuck spots on this little tiny. So I just made some small tags with the stamps and added some pictures and using David's paper. Love that. I think that just is so much fun. And this is a little letter from Tim Holtz embossing folder. I used that, and I will tell you how I did this. I love yogurt, and so there is a little thin piece of metal, like an aluminum foil, only thicker, as a seal on the yogurt. So I cleaned it up, put it through Tim Holtz embossing folders, and it's the one that has all the letters on it. And then I just put alcohol ink on it, and it made it into a beautiful, beautiful little tab, and it has a little H on it. It's the lowercase h, and I just stapled it on there. Great way to use your extra things that you have around. If you don't have, made it a little bookmark. If you don't have any access to any foil or things like that, there's many places that you can, that's just a tag. I'd take a tag and I put the tab right here. Use some negative and the stamps on book pages and the passport stamps. Okay, here is, so I just made I took the 2 outside. This is the center of the signature, and I just put map. This is a vintage, all the paper in here is very vintage. It is a vintage map. Somewhere in France, I think maybe Paris, but I'm not really sure. And of course, I had this beautiful lady here already on some tea dye or coffee dye. The back side I used was the distress pencils with some, I think Susie at Shabby Soul has shown a video how to do that, and I was very inspired. So I did it on my own, and I love the color choice that I used, but I just kept doing it. I thought, I like that second and third generation. She'll show you, and I will link all of that down below. So I am just going to put this right back on. There we go. So here is a paper clip that I had made out of scraps. And then I made, this is also the rectangle part of the journal sleeves, and I just made it into a ATC card. Love that. Those little ivy looks is from David's die set, and then I just embossed with distressed embossing glaze. Here's a tip: when you're using embossing glaze, do you see part of this? It's a white and then the dark deep blue, and you can kind of see it. It almost gives it a variegated look. When you heat set that embossing powder on the glazes, if you get a little warm, too warm, it will start to bring back the color of the paper. Of course, I did it on Elizabeth Craft's beautiful white paper, and I believe, oh, I can't remember, but it's the white paper that Elizabeth Craft Design has. But anyway, when you give too much heat, it will get almost like, oh, that variegated look. It's almost like you're burning the embossing glaze a little too much. I absolutely loved it because it gave it little white tips, and that is really what I was looking for. Kind of those happy accidents, you know. This is definitely a mixed media. It was very inspired by a post that I had seen on Instagram, and I wanted to use these stamps in another different way, and then the stencil. So I stamped and then I stenciled. If I was going to do it over, I love this combination because it's very eclectic, it's very me, and I wanted to show that it doesn't always have to be neat and tidy. It can be just really wonderful, but using even the things that don't really come out and make it work is wonderful. This is what I would say, is that the black kind of overpowers all of the colors of the letters, but I love that. Now that I have finished it, is that I added a piece of the negative of the film strips and added this emblem back here, and the lovely, I just love that little camera. And so I just pulled it all together, and then of course stamped this and used the embossing powder from Seth Apter. It's called Beeswax, and it gives it a very encaustic look. Let the adventure begin. Love that. Really tied it all together. So there you can see the background of Elizabeth Craft's paper. It's the white paper, and then I stenciled it and I kind of shadowed it in two colors, stamped it, added another one, just another piece of David's paper. Loved the coffee dyed in there, and then just put a partial of that ticket or tag, so I could have so many tuck spots and pockets. And then of course, this is what I was talking about, using that aluminum or that seal, the aluminum seal from the yogurt container. I just cleaned it up, put it through my embossing folder of Tim Holtz and made it, and then put alcohol inks on it, and I absolutely love it. It's a beautiful little tuck pocket, made a nice little tag. These beautiful photos here come from Tracy Fox from Love Junk Journals. I am a design team member on her team also. Had to incorporate them because they just fit so well with David's collection. And of course, I love fibers, fabrics. Put it all together, just all little tidbits. And used the frame, used ATC card. This is just a hair smaller than a playing card. It's of his set. I don't know which one. And of course, then I used, there again, you can kind of see what I was talking about, using the embossing glazes, how you get them to You can see that white, those lighter shades, how you get it to, once you heat set the embossing glazes, it turns a little bit of white. Love that. Love that. That was my favorite accident that I happened. I absolutely loved it. Perfect. Of course, you can put a photo on the back. Love that little girl peeking out. And of course, here is a collaged paper clip. This is a little bit different. You can actually see this paper clip. The other paper clip, you couldn't. It is basically a little cluster collage of things. A little paper from David's collection, his stamp on fabric. There is another stamp, part of the, I believe this is with the passport stamps. And I just clustered it together, sewed on it, you can tell. And these say magical place and miracles happen, and that is also in his sets. The magical place is in the travel phrases, and the miracle happens, I'm not sure which set that is in. I'd have to look it up. And of course, I use the set, I use the stamps. This is the texture stamps and the stencils. All of this is Distress Oxides, and I offset it. I just thought that was, it had a nice, I brought out the green. I brought out the green right here. I just thought it was a great cohesive look. Now that's going to make, since I took that off, this beautiful lady was sitting over underneath this. So while she's off, what I did, I took on the frame here, it is of the big, large die, and I think it's called Remember. It is a big negative, is a film strip, excuse me, a big film strip, and then I just took the four corners of the stamp and put it through there. I definitely distressed, stapled it on. This was a great, I used all the stamped on fabrics in different kinds of colors. Sewed that around onto one of the large squares that goes into the journal sleeves fillers. And I just took remnants. Now, this is at the end of the journal, so I am definitely using scraps, and so I can make certain things from that. From the dies I've already cut in the pages and things like this, you get to a certain point, it's like you got to use your scraps anyway. So I just basically just crazy quilted those pieces on. I used a little bit of map in there. The back piece behind her face is an ATC card from one of the coffee dyed papers. And then I used a little bit, I sewed a little, stamped a little, stenciled a little, one of Tracy Fox portraits. She just looks, and of course, travel therapy with a little paper clip. She just looks very, that's how I want to look like when I am traveling too. I just think it is so awesome. And of course, this is the back half of the front, that one right there. I left it as is, same as front. This time I used a stencil and Tim Holtz Tim Holtz pencils, some of his new pencils, and I got inspired by Susie from Shabby Soul. She had this technique of using a stencil, and I used one of David's stencils onto his paper. I did not gesso it, but I love how this turned out. It's a great, great texture, but it doesn't have the bulk. Now this is the inside of the back cover. I'm going to take everything out of here so you can actually see what I am talking about. I took 2 of the envelopes. I die cutted 2 of the envelopes. One of them, and here's this little flap. So both of them started out at the same size, but I cut this in half. And now I want you to see it is a little accordion. So you can have room in there to put things, put your tags. I just cut 2 of them out, cut one of them shorter than the other, and so I have places to put, stamped it, collaged the front. Here is some stamps out of my own collection. Would you believe when I was probably in the 5th, 6th grade, I started collecting stamps, not realizing that I would use them later in life. I have a whole collection of stamps, huge collection. Anyway, I used, this is a longer, I traced this shape. This is of that ticket of David's die, and I traced it out because I wanted it as a longer ticket. And then I cut it out. I did that twice because there's a front and a back. And then I made a specimen slide out of it. I cut the inside out using the shape of a previous die set that he had in last February's release. And then I put a piece of acetate, and you can kind of see the shine of it, the acetate in between, glued it together, sewed it, and then just embellished and stamped. And of course I used 2 stamps of my own collection because of course it's about remembering moments. It's about traveling. It's about staying home. It's about all of those vacations. And of course, I had to make a small envelope. This would be, I would think that this would be an envelope that you could send to with all kinds of, and I have all kinds of little things in here. I just made an envelope, stamped it, used one of David's stamps onto book page, and of course this probably will be very iridescent. The die out of David's, and of course I had to put in a stamp of my own. So those are the little things that I would think that an envelope would need when you are going holiday travel. And the last but not least, I used scraps on an ATC card, black, and then I used scraps of the little tin foil, little parts of maps, and then Dream, Discover, Travel from David's travel phrases, and you can journal or put a photo on the back. There you go. It is a chunky monkey, but you know what? Hey, I absolutely love it. Zoom out just a bit here. Thank you. Hey, I want to thank each and every one of you. You guys are the greatest. You like and subscribe. Let me know what you think of it. I will do snippets and maybe a few tutorials. Let me know what you want. What you would like to see me do an explanation of or tutorial of any of the techniques in here. Thank you. I am excited to see everybody's, and like and subscribe. Take care until next time. Bye.